While British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to meet business leaders at Downing Street to assess the impact of the Strait of Hormuz blockade amid growing fears of fuel shortages and rising energy costs. Ahead of the meeting with energy and shipping sector leaders, Starmer called for a wide-ranging discussion on keeping the crucial route open, saying it remains the most effective way to bring down energy prices. Earlier in the day, Starmer launched Labour's campaign for the 2026 local elections, where he acknowledged the uncertain global backdrop shaped by conflicts in Iran and Ukraine. He stressed that the UK would not be dragged into the Iran war, while assuring that energy bills are expected to fall through June despite ongoing tensions.
We're bringing together the shipping sector, insurance and energy, because obviously that's a focus of concern. A lot of discussion about the Straits of Hormuz and what we can do to get the straits opened, which is the single most effective way to bring energy prices down. But we're a wide-ranging discussion. It'll then feed in. I will have a COBRA tomorrow, another COBRA, to look at the economic impacts of the war and making sure that everything that we need to have in place, everything is monitored and audited properly. So this will feed into that tomorrow, but it'll be a very good roundtable this afternoon to discuss with the key sectors the impact on them and what we can do on it and what we can do together.
And German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has warned that the Iranian war risks spiraling into a wider regional conflict with serious consequences for Europe. Speaking in Berlin, he said such an escalation could place a burden on Germany and the continent comparable to the COVID-19 pandemic or the early stages of the Ukraine war. Merz noted that conflict is already impacting daily life, with rising fuel and energy costs hitting households and businesses. He also highlighted increased security concerns, including the need for heightened police protection around synagogues and Jewish communities. Merz further proposed forming an international contact group to coordinate post-war aid efforts and manage the broader fallout of the conflict.
In deutschen Haushalten und Unternehmen und schließlich wir müssen vor Synagogen und jüdischen Gemeinden erneut den Polizeischutz verstärken. Wächst sich dieser Krieg zu einem regionalen Großkonflikt heraus, dann kann er Deutschland und Europa noch stärker belasten, so stark wie wir es zuletzt in der Covid-Pandemie oder zu Beginn des Ukraine-Krieges.
And Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called for greater clarity from US President Donald Trump on the objectives of the ongoing Iran war, while urging de-escalation to protect the global economy. Albanese said that while initial goals such as preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons and limiting its military capabilities were clear, any push for regime change would be far more complex and historically difficult to achieve. He warned that the conflict, which has spread across West Asia, is already disrupting energy supplies and impacting global markets.
I want to see more certainty in what the objectives of the war are, and I want to see a de-escalation. So a de-escalation is in the global economy's interests. I have nothing but contempt for the Iranian regime. At the beginning of the conflict, the objectives were outlined as one, stopping Iran getting a nuclear weapon, agree, and clearly has been achieved. Secondly, degrading the opportunity that Iran has for engaging in military action, either overt or through its proxies. The third was regime change. And I think that very clearly history tells us that regime change imposed from outside is very difficult. Tends to happen from the bottom up within a country rather than being imposed from outside.
And in a bid to ease rising cost pressures, the Australian Prime Minister has announced a temporary cut in fuel taxes as the Iran war continues to drive up global energy prices. Now, the government will halve the fuel excise on petrol and diesel for a period of 3 months, aiming to provide immediate relief to households as well as businesses. Anthony Albanese said that while Australia's fuel supply remains stable for now, prolonged conflict could worsen economic impact. He acknowledged growing public concern over rising costs, stressing that the government has a plan to manage the fallout.
Announcing the Commonwealth Government will halve the fuel excise on petrol and diesel for 3 months. While Australia's fuel supply outlook remains secure in the near term, we need to be very clear as well with Australians that the longer this war goes on, the worse the impacts will be. And I and the government understand that people are really worried, but we have a plan to get through this. We understand the cost pressures for people are very real as the impact of the war on the other side of the world plays out right here.